Eggnog is one of those things that I love about the Christmas season. It has that characteristic flavor as well as the thickness, that texture to it that's so good. When I was a kid, we used to add it to Sprite or sometimes even thin it down with a little bit of milk. We probably did that because it was so expensive, but I've found that I really like making my own. Not only can I control the amount of things that are in it and there's no additives to it, but it's much less expensive. For starters, I'll take 12 egg yolks and add them to a big bowl. I need to make sure that my bowl is pretty good sized because I'll not only be whisking these in it, but I'll also be tempering the eggs later, and so you need more room for that. And then I'll add 2/3 of a cup of sugar to it. And I'll whisk those together until they're light and creamy. And then I'll set this off to the side until later. Now I'll take a large pot and I'll add 4 cups of milk to it, 2 cups worth of heavy cream, 1/2 of a teaspoon of ground nutmeg, which is of course what gives it that characteristic flavor, and 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt. It might surprise you that there's salt in the eggnog, but it actually is a flavor enhancer. I'll then place this on the stove on medium heat, stirring regularly until it reaches 190 degrees. It's important to continue to stir the milk, especially as the temperature gets higher, because it can scald fairly easily, especially once it hits 180. This is the point where I'll temper the egg. Tempering the egg essentially is getting it warm without cooking it. If I were to put the eggs directly in the eggnog at this point, I would just get scrambled eggs in there, and I don't want that. If you even do it just a little bit too soon before it's up to that same temperature, then you'll get little strings of cooked egg, and that's not great. So the way I temper it is I put just a little bit in a ladle, and in the very beginning, I put a really tiny bit. The idea is that it needs to be just a little bit more, so that I slowly bring that temperature of the eggs up. Sometimes it can get tempting to go faster just because, well, it takes a little while to put all of this in there in such small amounts. But if you don't, then you end up with the stringy eggs in your eggnog issue. And I'll just continue to add tiny bits of that milk solution over and over and over again until I finally get the majority of the eggnog mixed in with the egg. And the other key is to just mix quickly as you're adding, because you don't want any big pockets of heat anywhere in this. So by whisking quickly as you put it in, and then it just makes it so that it's a tiny bit of heat all over the place. So now I'll pour all of my egg mixture back into my pan. And I'll place this back on the stove on medium heat until it gets to 160 degrees. I'll continue to whisk the eggnog until it gets up to temperature. I take the eggnog off the heat and I add 1/2 of a teaspoon of vanilla. And then I mix the vanilla in, and it's already starting to get thick. But you'll notice that as it cools down, it gets even thicker. The next step is to pour my eggnog into a container. Now, if you did happen to get any little egg bits in your eggnog, that's what this strainer's for. Not only does it catch any little egg bits that you might have missed, but it pulls out any of the bigger chunks of the nutmeg. I like to strain this into a milk container, but you can put it into a pitcher. It's your choice. The key, though, is not to wait too long in order to do this, because as it thickens up, it won't go through the strainer as well. Now I'll put a lid on my eggnog. If I had it in a pitcher, I would just put plastic wrap over the top of it. And I'll put this in my refrigerator, and I can use it anytime over the next week. Now, as this cools, this will become a pretty thick eggnog. If you want it a little bit smoother, you can always add it to a blender with just a touch of milk. Oh, it's delicious. It's so smooth, and it has that classic eggnog flavor. I really like it.